far this season. 4% presence, so definitely has not been being seen a lot. If you get ahead of the Azir, I really do think that you can take over that matchup because the Azir often is relatively squishy. You can start to kind of one combo this guy, but from behind, from even, it can, I think, sometimes be tough to really have the same sort of relevance as an Azir in the team fighting. And Azir's wave clear, his stalling in the game is so powerful. His late game team fighting is incredibly powerful, and does have a lot of playmaking. So there's certainly a lot of reasons to be going for that side of the matchup.
All right, so one final ban through for TSM, then OpTic get first dibs. They still need a top laner, and they need a champion for Arrow in the bottom lane. TSM need themselves their jungle and support, so entirely desynced actually, which roles they're going for. No Cogbot, no Vladimir counterpick allowed now to that Gangplank. We saw Darshan do well with it just 20 minutes ago.
I think that the Kog'Maw actually makes quite a bit of sense as a ban here as well, because OpTic, you don't really have a lot of damage in this comp so far. In the top 3, you have 2 tanks, you have a burst mage, not someone who's really going to be, doing a lot of consistent DPS throughout a team fight, generally speaking. So the Gnar also speaking to that, they are going to need a sort of hyper carry, AD carry, I feel, to pull this together. Or you simply may not have enough DPS to really pull it through in an extended team fight unless you're kind of snowballing the game.
Yeah, what I'm thinking of, and probably order of actually going to happen, would be Tristana, then Caitlyn, and then I think Twitch is very good, but it's a very unsafe champion and could be a big threat. Interesting to see Ornn picked, even though Braum has been shown. Of course, Ornn, a highly prized top laner in the general
support,
sense.
Though.
Oh, you're right. It is going to be Ornn support because they already have Gangplank. You're right. So now to show themselves what jungler they want to do. Evelynn, highly prized in North America, and a lot of other leagues actually disappears entirely. Pun not intended, though appreciated. And we'll see if Mike Young does go for another squishy, high-damage jungler. And in fact, yes, his third jungler pick, he played a Shyvana game, played a Kaza game, now onto the Evelynn. TSM are not putting tanks in their jungler.
Yeah, and I mean, Eve is extremely powerful in solo queue, an 8.1, one of the highest win rates. Definitely a lot of threat to be put out on the map as an assassin. And once you hit level 6, you get the stealth. That's very difficult to play around as far as split pushing, as far as just where you are on the map. You always have to be cognizant of the fact that Evelynn can be moving over your wards and kind of adds another dimension to that. That said, no real true tank for TSM. Because Ornn is coming from the support position, yes, Mithy could build into that tank, but generally speaking, you have to kind of wait a while before you really get resistances, and you are lower on gold. So that is one perhaps concern for them. This is a team that I think can be very powerful if you can kite it out, if you can play the team fights very, very well. The Azir and the Ezreal are fairly mobile, and if you can stay in the back line and be hitting people with barrels and this sort of thing, that can work out very well. But if you're falling behind it all, it becomes very difficult because the tanks for the other team just kind of run you down, and there are a lot of tanks on the other team. There's a Gnar, there's Sejuani, and then the Braum is somewhat equivalent to the Ornn as far as his tankiness. So definitely think that's a concern, but at the same time for OpTic, if Arrow is not having a good game, I don't see them having the DPS to really make much happen in a team fight.
Yeah, maybe so. It's interesting because it is a lower tank composition for TSM, that the requirement of DPS not quite as high based on this comp. But yeah, still remains to be seen. You're absolutely right. There is not nearly the same kind of repeatable damage as TSM's comp. I mean, one is clearly higher on the TSM side. We'll see how it goes here into this one. Hauntzer, definitely one of the better top laners of last year. TSM, of course, reigning NA LCS champion 3 times in a row. A lot of people expected Hauntzer and Bjergsen to be huge, and they are on some very big carry threats themselves. Getting stuff into this game pretty shortly. Arrow was the MVP a year ago from Spring Split 2017. I think so far he's been very good, which is nice to see. I think he's going to remain a big factor for OpTic. He's been laning well, he's been team fighting well, and Arrow as the primary DPS threat is going to be one as well. Have heard that Arrow, last I heard, was having minor keyboard issues, so they're going to look into that, and they're replacing the right arrow key. Shout out if you use the arrows to scroll the map while playing League of Legends, by the way. I actually do
Open
not.
The keyboard, it's Christmas.
Oh, baby. What'd you get?
Open it up.
I wonder what's inside.
I don't know.
Keyboard, probably?
What if it's just socks?
Dude.
How disappointing would that be? Not only for him as on a personal level, but also because then we have to wait for another box to see if there's a keyboard in that one.
Yeah. And that one's going to be shoes, and you're just going to be like, wait, what happened to all my real stuff? And that said, though, I did ask for socks for Christmas, and I was happy that I got them.
Yeah.
Because things that, little casual things that I want, I buy already, because I have a job, and I'm like,
socks are not casual things that you can buy.
I mean, they're not exciting to buy, right? It's like, ooh, new game came out, and I go on Steam, and I buy that right away, right? Yeah. Or, a new Ezreal skin comes out, and
You know what, Freak? Whenever your birthday is, I'm going to get you some socks.
Dude, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
March 16th.
Okay.
All right, thanks,
go.
buddy.
I'll mark it on my calendar.
I'll turn 31.
But getting back to the game, Mithy actually starting with Unsealed Spellbook on the Orin, and he is going to be starting Knight. So pretty interesting to see that. I was expecting Guardian, to be honest, because I do think that Guardian is so powerful on the melee supports, but obviously having the Summoner spell cooldown can be very, very nice here also. And especially if you are going to be having an aggressive jungler, being able to have the Ignite on your support offers some more kill pressure, some more threat, not only in the bot lane, but also if he wants to look to roam, you know, post 6, you can just show up to a lane and ult down and try to pick up a kill there. So we'll see kind of how well that really does play out, because as far as just baseline effectiveness, Guardian is just always good. And that is why, generally speaking, Guardian has high win rates, not only just on tank supports, but also on a lot of the tank junglers.
Yeah, totally agree. And we've even seen champions like Nunu, who like everyone was joking about being really bad, actually did well with Guardian. And, you know, worth pointing out that some of these defensive keystones are really very strong. Got a quick ETA from production, about a minute and a half to go until we're done with the keyboard at getting tested and back into the game. So we'll get onto that one pretty shortly. But once again, shout out that even though the live patch is 8.2, we are still playing at 8.1 this weekend. There's usually about a week we give teams to practice before we put them onto the patch professionally. So this would be the last few games of 8.1 for the...
Getting loose.
Yeah, you know, warming up. I like that he's practicing his jaw movements as well. I don't know who talks by moving their jaw left and right. It actually sounds really weird when I'm doing it, so I don't know if he needed that, but... You know, Zig making sure he's ready to shot call properly.
Yeah, I'm sure that's exactly what he's
thinking. He's like, man, I got to make sure I can get
warming up
those German sounds properly. Just make sure I can talk with Power Bugle properly. They've got cool vowels. They have like, we're going to move on. Anyway, I like European vowels because they have like things on them. There's like accents.
I like how you say you're going to move on.
And then I did. Because I realized it wasn't worth
just
like,
help yourself.
I can't actually.
No.
I'm helpless in most things.
You're insatiable. Your thirst for puns is never quenched.
That's true. You know what would... Moving on.
But can you? That's the real question.
This time I will. Lemonation on screen right there. Back on a...
Where's his notebook? That's really the question on everyone's mind.
Dude, if they go 0-3 and it's because he's got no notebook, that's what we've got to blame. That's what the Reddit thread's about.
You can do it, Arrow.
Oh, man. He's
getting in there.
Oh, he's prying off keys.
Oh, okay.
He removes the G keys or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's a lot of, like, some of these keyboards have those macro keys on the side. And I actually don't like keyboards with those keys on the side as well, because I'll, like... feel for the escape keys and I'm hitting like F17 or whatever, like whatever that button is over on the corner, and it's like actually bound to numlock or something, and now like my items don't work anymore and stuff.
That'd be unlucky.
Yeah.
All right, so either way, two OT teams starting off, you know, obviously bad first week for both TSM and OpTic, looking to get a first one on the table. And while expectations certainly are higher for TSM as far as, you know, big picture, a lot of people are predicting them to be at the top of the league or at least near the top of the league.
Yeah, absolutely.
OpTic definitely has a chance here to really make a splash. Yes, they did lose both their first 2 games, so it's two teams who went 2-0. They almost won both of those games. If they get a win here against TSM, another team that was predicted towards the top of the league, really, I do think that's opening up a chance for them to kind of move up and maybe later in the season even be in that playoff picture, you know, looking to contend for that, because they're a team that if they are performing at the highest level that they're capable of, you know, Arrow is on MVP form. If these guys are holding up in the solo lanes, I think this is a good team.
I think it definitely can be a good team, and we'll see what happens here to this one. We are into the game, and we are ready to go onto this. And let's see what can happen. Dragon Trainer Kristana, and a quick pause. Woo! Excitement out of the crowd. I'm happy too. We get to look at our pretty players' faces some more.
That's true, we do.
Yeah, but only for TSM. This is because that was okay. Yay, we get to see OpTic as well. Equal opportunity.
There you go. All is well in the world once more. Definitely one of the things I really do just want to track, though, you know, from TSM side in this game is how well coordinated do they look? Because I do think it's extremely important in competitive League of Legends, whether it's the right call or the wrong call, to have your team on the same page and be committed to it.
Yeah.
And there certainly has been a lot of cases in my mind where it felt like they were not on the same page. You know, whether, you know, you're looking at the mic check, for example, earlier on, where, you know, Bjergsen is saying, I'm just going to use the Rise Ultimate to check vision on the Baron, but Mike Young is taking that in as Sponsor is canceling his TP, as things are definitely not on the same page, and that's something that needs to be really kind of fixed. It's also worth pointing out that Zven and Mithy are not really famous for smashing lane. They are more known for equalizing all lanes, doing well in lane, and then, in my opinion, being dominant in the mid and late game and crushing it in team fights. Zven in particular is known as such a powerful team fight AD carry, but they were, to me, not really the guys who were super risky and pushing for advantages in lane as often. It's more about, you know, grinding it out and trusting in the fact that they could take over later.
Right, they grabbed Mithy because he's got that big brain, he's a smart one, and he was going to come through. And he himself would admit, like, yeah, I'm not the mechanical god here, I'm good at the game because I'm smart about the game, and so you don't need to look at the first 10 and be like, oh, they're not winning lane? Wow, garbage duo. It's supposed to come later on to this one, and TSM hoping that by the end of the season, that will show through.
I think they're hoping that by now that'll show through. I mean,
sure.
This is a team that is expected to be competing not just in North America, but internationally, right? That has always been TSM's aspirations is, fight for worlds, be an international threat. And to do that, you have to be kind of taking it one step further. You have to be pushing forward towards MSI, towards Worlds to get that experience, to get that competition. And if you're not crushing in your own region, it's going to be hard to do that.
So some minor leashes from the top laners. They both start their northern side buffs. The jungler's coming through on this one, and we are, of course, still on double relic shield, quadra relic shield action in the bot lane. And looks like first push is going to go towards the OpTic duo, which is probably not a surprise considering it's a Tristana. She does that all the time. Bjergsen, though, getting some pretty good damage up on a PoE and getting a lot done there. I want to point out we've seen an increasing trend of mid laners running Presence of Mind to go precision secondary, which is infinite mana for 7 seconds when you get a level up or a killer assist. And that was in both mid laners in the previous game. It's on Bjergsen here in this one, and it's just kind of interesting to see that sort of shift in priority.
Yeah, and I think it's something that can be very powerful during the team fights. If you are in an all-in sort of team fight with people dying, you're probably not going to run out of mana. But it's kind of surprising because I always kind of feel like Morello's fills that gap, and if you are playing someone who doesn't build Morello, then yes, that makes a lot more sense. But if you're going to be on Syndra, I expect to see that item, and then that is kind of already taking care of that to me. Like when you get a killer assist, you're already getting a lot of your mana back, and then it's probably not really going to be an issue. So it'll be interesting to see if our Evil is going to go that way.
Decent damage for that one. Yeah, the major benefit seems to be that it's just actually a lot of mana in the laning phase, that even if you don't use it for the team fight power, it's basically a mana full ban replacement, where people are going to precision secondary instead of sorcery secondary, and mana full ban got nerfed in 8.1, so they're like, yeah, we'll just do this instead, and we'll see if that sticks around for a few more patches, but it's fun noting the differences in runes. Pros are doing Presence of Mind a lot right now in mid lane. So Bjergsen, yeah, gets a little bit of a ward from Mike Young, helps watch one of the gank attempts that Acadian could do. Can't come through north side now.
And also another little difference here is you'll see a lack of stopwatches in the bot lane, right? There's actually 3 people taking Biscuit Delivery, which I think is a fairly underrated mastery as far as sustain goes. But it's interesting to see that taken in what I would think is going to be a very passive lane, right? And if you are just kind of playing it very slowly, yes, having potions is useful, but it's not as necessary. Whereas if you're going to die, it's probably going to be in an all-in situation. So in my opinion, if you're playing a slow lane like this, it's only really going to sway if it's a jungle visit. Then stopwatch is probably just better because it's all about the power in that one moment instead of kind of power diffused over the time that you have all this extra health regen. Yeah. Where that is more to me like if you're poking back and forth, it's really powerful.
I want to point out one thing is we got our runes overlay, but versus a would-be gank in the mid lane, Bjergsen is safe. Sven is actually with Kleptomancy. I saw him have a mana potion inventory a second ago, so that is not Spellbook Ezreal. He is going Klepto. He's doing it correctly. Nice little all-in of the bot lane. No stun and a Mithy. Decent damage, and TSM back with a bit of control. CS, though, could be equalized very easily by Arrow.
Yeah. Certainly will be. Arrow, I do think, as long as he's kind of farming this out, he's going to be relatively happy. I do think that it is important, though, that he's able to be relevant in this game as really the major consistent damage source. And as you did say, it is a good point that when there's less tanky members, less damage is required. So all of a sudden, a Sejuani damage becomes pretty relevant when you're hitting, an Azir instead of like a full tank Cho'Gath or something like that. It matters much more. But I still do think you need your AD carry to be offering quite a bit of damage in a comp like this.
Totally agree. So we'll see what comes through into this one as Mike Young once again hanging out near the mid lane, seeing if there's anything he can do about a would-be gank. But no, it's just Pee-wee walking back across the map towards the bottom side, putting maybe a new ward down. So nothing spicy just yet. Right now we do have ourselves a 1,000 gold lead to the credit of TSM. Looks like they're just earning a lot more money via Kleptomancy, though. They've got 2 users themselves, so that's it is a real gold lead, but it also kind of lies to you because it was just kind of given to them for free to a certain extent.
Yeah, I mean, it's discounting the power that is inherently there in something like Fleet Forward, right?
Right.
Because that does not represent itself as gold on
but
the
it's power.
board, but it is power, right? Yeah, exactly. It kind of evens out a little bit with that.
Yeah.
Gangplank also with his passive is getting extra gold there for anything he's killing with his Q, for with his barrels also. So definitely a lot of extra gold generation. But definitely not completely telling the full story. I would say that the biggest lead really is just mid lane right now for Bjergsen. He's doing a good job.
He's doing incredibly well right now in this mid lane. Props to Bjergsen, level 6 here on both these guys. He's got to really respect what could be stun spin out. Is running cleanse for the Sejuani, or sorry, well, yeah, Sejuani or Syndra stun, but no barrier for the damage output.
No, but I mean, he also rushed Merc Treads, right? Like, to me, the way this is very clearly telling me that Bjergsen, all he wants to do, push the lane and not interact, right?
Yeah.
Because if he's able to outwave clear Power of Evil, which in this case he certainly is, then all Power of Evil really gets to do is interact with minions and try to do his best last hitting under the turret. He never really gets a chance to combo Bjergsen, and Bjergsen is going very defensively because he doesn't need damage right now. He's just trying to farm. He's just trying to scale.
And some of that, to even belabor the point slightly, is he's got that infinite mana from having Presence of Mind plus Mana Flow ban. Actually, he's got both mana talents by being Sorcery Precision, primary, secondary, so like plus double Doran's Ring. He gets to literally spam abilities on cooldown forever and never worry about him running out of mana while he's shoving forever. So it really does play to the style of trying to have a non-interactive lane so he doesn't int in the lane, because Sejuani is a pretty punishing jungler sometimes.
Yeah, it certainly can be, especially now that Acadian is level 6 and he has kind of reached that mark a little bit faster than Mike Young. And with that combination, the first gank can be very powerful. Even if there is a cleanse available within Sejuani ult, that gets cleansed into a Sky of the Weak, and Bjergsen could be in some trouble. But the Merc Treads also are giving you magic resistance, and both Sejuani and the Syndra are going to be dealing magic damage. So I just think it's a pretty smart buy here for Bjergsen, and it's a pretty intelligent way to play out this lane because TSM has a lot of really powerful scaling.
So we're hitting ultimates pretty soon. As you mentioned before, Acadian has his Mike Young not yet there, but he's getting pretty close, level 5. And Shane, here's a jump into the bot side, looking for a little bit of a play to have. Nice damage across. Also trying to do some damage in a Mithy, but looks like the TSM duo is going to be okay. And one last missing shot actually kind of equalizes the trade, so Arrow forced to walk right back out. Level lead, though, could be in a better smite for Acadian. Red buff forced to leash back, and he might want to live down here. Again, Mike Young cannot turn invisible yet. He's pre-6, but Acadian says there's too much threat from the rest of the team. With all of Bjergsen's shoving going in, he can't stay much longer. And so, despite it being a good invade, Bjergsen's lane control keeps Mike Young safe.
I will say I'm a bit surprised by the Tabby rush here from Zig, into Gangplank. Like, this is a Gangplank with an early Sheen, with Kleptomancy, with a Ko. He's going extremely greedy, and when you're going very defensively like that, it's extremely hard to punish. And yes, Gangplank is doing a lot of physical damage, and the parlay is very annoying, but this is not like an auto-attack-based champion, really. And it's also not an auto-attacking physical damage jungler. That's a weird stopwatch. I think that was an accident.
Yeah, I think he meant to chug his like consumable potion or something and hit the wrong button on his keyboard, so unlucky there. But yeah, he had dodged the W, and then there's nothing left to threaten him.
Yeah, and the ultimate was already used. That really doesn't make any sense at all, so it had to be just an accident. But either way, I don't feel like Zig is going to be able to pressure Haunter with this build. I just think that it's so defensive, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me because of that. Like, Tabbies, if you're going against a Rengar or a Kha'Zix as well, then great. It's the dual usage. It becomes much harder to get ganked, but it doesn't really even help you against Mike Young much, and your cleaver is fairly delayed. I just feel like GP gets a bit more of a free lane because of it. He's going to, with the Cull, be scaling even more heavily. He already has additional passive gold, and when he gets to Triforce and you're on like a Phage and Tabbies, it's going to feel pretty bad.
All right, and so as we look back into this bottom lane, 1,800 gold lead for TSM. Again, it's the Klepto users in the mid lane farm lead. Nice little chunk of damage towards the bot lane. Elimination forced to take a few licks and walk right back out, but everyone's going to be pretty much all right for themselves. And yeah, it has been a much lower impact early game compared to the previous one we cast, who were re-hitting some of these same points, but pretty easily. Sven got to his Tier Sheen recall. He feels really good about that one. I would pretty much always take Tier Sheen over a BF sword start, so he's feeling pretty good about his lane and just stacking up. All the way to Iceborne Gauntlet, so he's really able to get so much money right now, Sven. Yeah, back in the lane 10 minutes in on his first power spike already done.
And I always think that Iceborne is an intelligent buy when your team already indexes extremely heavily on damage, because it gives you more survivability, you have a little bit of armor, you have more kiting potential with the slows, and it's not like a team that has Azir, Eve, and GP on the top side is going to be lacking for damage, so I don't think that you need the additional DPS from that Triforce as heavily, and that's why I think it makes a lot of sense here.
Absolutely agree. And so right now it just feels like TSM are the team happy to wait. And I guess I want to start breaching this topic then is who is the team that actually benefits more from this much lower action early game then? My instinct says it's Azir Gangplank, of course, but
I definitely think it is Azir Gangplank personally. But it comes down to teamfight execution, because anytime you're running this kind of very squishy comp like TSM is, the potential for it to fall flat on its face is there, right there. There's very powerful engage in Wombo, and I feel like they're gonna catch up.
The first one, the one tank, but Ornn doesn't have a lot of ways out of that one. The W pop doesn't matter. One more auto will do him in first. Blood, the power of evil.
Yeah, Mithy is getting caught on that roam. Acadian was in position, able to tank down the support, but that is kind of the power there of some of these tanks on OpTic. So if you can get the right engage, if you can hit the Sejuani ultimate and the Braum ultimate comes in, the Gnar ultimate comes in, you burst someone down, then I think certainly fights can go the way of OpTic, but it comes down more to execution, because if you don't actually get that initial kill, I feel like it starts to heavily favor TSM's side, who is just going to put out more damage, but it's a harder to execute comp, because you don't have the straightforward just run in and tank it up type style.
Right there from Fog. Acadian had snuck in there so long ago, and there's just not much Mithy to be able to do about that. Hits the W for a shield. Doesn't matter, the damage still there.
I think it's intelligent to not use your flash in a situation like that. You are not going to get out either way. Simply save the summoner, so it does get punished, but at least holds on to his flash, so it's not as easy to get a repeat gank or anything like that. In the meantime, though, Sven actually did have to blow his flash and engage on the bot side, so we'll see if Acadian wants to get down there and try to punish that.
Let's be back up in about a minute's time, so we might see him get there pretty soon. He's got his free boots done, Cinderhulk there as well. And he is actually, I want to point out that with Acadian, he has gone for the Resolve primary. We've seen a lot of people go for Fleet Footwork Sejuani for early clear speed. He went for Aftershock to be tankier. That does, in some timing windows, hold on to that thought. Sven gets away. It can make a Warmog's purchase a bit better because you'll hit the infinite regen threshold a bit sooner because you have the Resolve health. So, something to track with his item build.
I just think that it's Aftershock, as far as the actual team fighting, like it's weaker in the early stages because the footwork with the attack speed you're getting is going to help with your early clear. But when you get to the actual team fight stage, I definitely think Aftershock is more powerful, especially for a champion like Sejuani, who often is just stacking health, not really resistances in the early stages. If you go for a Cinderhulk into a Warmogs, which is very, very standard, you don't have the armor in the MR, and Aftershock, in addition to your passive, can give you a lot of that and actually increase the amount of survivability you have by a very significant margin.
And so here we go, looking at a little bit of pressure on the bot side. Mithy with, he's got the Resolve, gets the demolish damage up, but he's like, I'll tank those hits. It's worth it to get about 450 health off that turret. And that one's down to about, 55%, so some headway being done by this TSM duo.
So this is kind of the sad time that I was talking about in top lane, where GP has now completed a Triforce, and Zig is building towards his Frozen Mallet, but he's on pieces of a Frozen Mallet completed versus a completed Triforce, in addition to the longsword and the free boots, etc. And I think this is where it can start to get relatively hard for that Gnar, and I just don't really see him being able to punish in the 1v1, but maybe his goal is more, hey, I'll just go for a more defensive, a tankier build, and then in the team fight, TSM may not be able to burst through him, may not be able to deal with him, and as long as he is giving the freedom to Arrow and Power Beetle to pump out the damage, he doesn't necessarily have to do very much himself, because there's a lot of squishy members on the TSM side, so maybe just looking at it a different way.
You're right, if OpTic's game plan really is like, hey, we'll just win every team fight because support Ornn is not enough in the front line, we'll just win outright with Sejuani, Threat, and Braum in the front, then if they choose to play defensively, that can work for them. They get themselves a Mountain Drake, which is a pretty nice pickup. Okay, nice. No, that was on purpose. I just realized.
It was on purpose.
Mike Young was not stealing. He was setting it up for Sven. This positioning just confused me, but no, we're back there.
Or is it a toxic AD carry?
It's a toxic AD carry. Every AD carry is toxic. Confirmed. I am one. Hashtag free freak. Okay, move on. 2,000 gold leave TSM. And yeah, just kind of sitting in the same place now for themselves. And with Hans having the ultimate, the Ornn pops in as well. Look for the knockup. Not going to hit anyone, actually. Splits the upright. 3 points to Mithy. Welcome to America. This is how we play football. And now looking for a little bit more. As a chase onto Acadian, the damage not going to be there, though. The ultimate attack for Mike. Mike is low. One more hit. Pops the stopwatch, but no ulti. No way out. Stun's going to land. One more shot. An arrow. Gets a second kill now for OpTic as Ven runs away. Red buff on. Lands some more shots, but not going to matter. Quick pickup there. OpTic 2-0.
Good stuff from Acadian there, honestly, and it looked to me, I'll have to see that in the replay, but it looked like the execute was available from Mike Young onto Acadian. The image kind of does come up above them, showing that you can actually signify their kill, and Mike Young went in for that, and I believe it was a Guardian proc from Lemon Nation that actually saved him, because you get an actual icon. So watch Acadian here. You'll see the icon does appear as he gets low, and Mike Young says, I can go in and kill him. And then Is it a Guardian from? No.
No, he got Summoner Heal.
Oh, he got Summoner Heal.
Guardian was wasted on Arrow.
It was the heal there from Arrow. Something came out, and that kind of baited Mike Young in to go for the execute. And then, honestly, just a nice ultimate to follow up off of that stopwatch there for Arcadian. And it's the flash use, the ultimate use, stopwatch use for Mike Young. No kill available. Yep. Again, another game here from Mike Young where he's playing extremely passively. And if you kind of compare to last split, you know, someone looking at Svenskeren, he got quite a bit, I guess, of criticism, it's fair to say. But when you compare their early games and kind of what they have done for these teams when Sven was on TSM versus when Mike Young was on TSM, Mike Young really has not been getting much done in the early game besides farm. He's kind of just been playing relatively passively, and whether that's the team saying, hey, play slow, we're going to win late, it's hard to say, but not involved whatsoever in any first bloods yet in the 3 games. Has not really been involved in hardly any kills at all in these 3 games, but he is up on gold because he's farming.
Right, and those are the stats from the first 2 games. His now kill assist is 0.33 per game in the first 15, and his first blood obviously is still 0%. So he's getting the farm. He's not getting a lot else right now.
But is Eve the champion for that, right? Like, and that kind of feels a little bit weird to me. Like, yes, Eve does have a lot of damage coming in later, but if you're trying to just play a super slow game where you're scaling and you're not going to put on any pressure with Eve's passive and her stealth, which is so much of the power to me, then I don't feel like you should be on this champion, right? I just
play
feel like
Zac.
Play Zac, play J4 or something like that, full tank J4, right? Be a frontline to the team because they don't need more DPS when you already have GP plus Azir as a solo lane. It feels like it doesn't make a ton of sense to me.
No, I agree with you.
I feel like you at least want to apply some pressure. You don't have to be going all out because Eve does scale still well as far as DPS, but you need to do something.
And we'll see what comes through on this. Now Power Viva looking for a bit of a slow. Finds Mithy, stuns him, gets displaced a little bit. Now the stun's going to come from long range, but there's no chase to be had. It's not going to mean too much right there. Mithy blocked what damage he could with his W on and survives the end of the encounter there. Arcadian going to get rid of a ward. It is an interesting topic because we talk about TSM junglers. It's been a perennial topic. TSM's been around North America for basically ever. And the joke is always they turn every jungler into a passive jungler. But Mike Young's playing his normal kind of champ. He's got a Kha'Zix and an Eve game, and he's just not getting things done himself. There's a nice knock-up actually. Gets through a little bit of it now, and the Orin ult coming across and doesn't headbutt anything, so just walks away from that.
Yeah, the Arcadian was kind of waiting in the wings there. Power Viva was roaming down too, so TSM not going to decide to engage into that, which I think is definitely the correct choice, as Bjergsen was slower to the roam. We'll see if Bjergsen can kind of zone PoE out at all here. Gets a little bit of damage in, but not actually going to deny any of the CS. No, one miss so far.
Okay. Gets the rest of them. Mages last thing in a turret, not usually too hard. Yeah, Bjergsen had no backup there. Of course, near him couldn't go for any kind of a dive or shuffle as the rest of his team was pushed away. And okay, bot turret gets low, and that's actually first turret picked up right there. So hey, they are finding those eked out advantages in the bot lane. Sven and Mithy with very little help from what I can remember. Up 20 CS first turret as well without much else going on, and props to them.
And they're up a lot of gold to their credit, right? Klepto coming in, you can see big gold advantage not only from the first turret, but also from Kleptomancy, from the GP passive. You know, almost reaching a 2,000 gold lead in the top end of bot as far as those marksmen are concerned. So they are farming very well. I mean, Bjergsen is ahead in CS there, so if that is the plan, to just slow play it and out-farm your opponents, then win later, then things are going certainly according to plan for TSM. It just comes down to, can they engage and properly win team fights without any tank? And that's really what it's going to come down to. It's just going to come down to the execution.
Done by Hansa right there, gets the barrel in time as they couldn't last hit that one, and gets strengthened about half HP. And look at this, actually Hansa also getting a lot of damage onto this turret, gets it down to about 1/3. And in this case, of course, there's a Mega Gnar waiting to ult him, but has whittled that down over time with his lane dominance, still holding on to his 16 minion lead as well. So yeah, I mean, we can malign TSM for a slow early game, and I think some of that might be fair. There were probably opportunities earlier on in this one, but they are growing their leads over time.
And to me, it's not about the fact they're playing a slow early game. It's more just, does it make sense to have an Eve as your jungler if you want to play this style, right? I think that there's nothing wrong with playing this style, especially when you are winning in farm, when you do have scaling advantages. The question is not, are they playing it, unintelligently? It's, does the pick make the most sense in this style?
Yeah. Now look for another attempt there on a Mithy, running away, will not get stunned and just immune some damage with his W. Little shield picked up there, and they're going to force elimination right back out. This time around, though, it's actually priority on the mid lane for TSM, and OpTic is going to look for this Infernal Drake. The team's coming down. Teleport's available for both top laners. This could be the first major team fight coming in. Mike Young invisible. 2,000 health left on the Drake right there, getting exploited. A bit of damage coming through, and nice pickup. Red team grabs it. That's going to be OpTic. Plus the kill actually as Mike Young falls down. He flashed in, couldn't hold right back out. Knockup's going to land on a 1. That's going to be a dead Braum. Yes, elimination will fall. TSM, the first kill of the game. They do lose the Drake to OpTic.
Yeah, 1 for 1 in the kills. The Infernal goes the way of OpTic, but GP pressuring it topside, and you can see Hunter almost has this turret down, so certainly things looking good for them there, and they're pressuring the mid lane. Definitely going to be getting a lot of gold in their pockets if they can actually knock down both those outers. They're already a lot of gold ahead. They are going to get the mid, and with Zinko roaming down to mid lane, they should probably get the top 2, and that's actually going to be a pretty huge early game gold lead.
Absolutely the case, and looks like, yeah, everyone else far away, so TSM doing a really good job with all this. He's not going to stay for that. He knows that Zig is close enough around, so okay. Look at that one later.
So here's the play again. Neither top laner deciding to TP in. The call is just Mike Young looking for the steal. He's going to go in for it. He flashes in. Is not able to actually get it. That went down too early. And it looked like it was a good scatter of the week from Power of Evil that actually delayed Mike Young from getting in there. So credit to the OpTic mid laner for delaying that. They do secure the Infernal. They have a Mountain in their back pocket as well. But they are down 5,000 gold, which is honestly quite a big lead at this point in the game. And especially when you think that Azir and GP are going to be very, very, very strong.
That's the case, so things to watch out for. 5,000 gold lead feels pretty good for TSM. As long as their front line can hold in fights, OpTic have managed to get 3 times as many kills to TSM so far into this one. But lane dominance has been good for the blue side.
Yep.
The next major move is. Maybe for Acadian, a couple of shots coming through. Can't be slowed for several seconds. Guardian triggers, thanks to Scorch. Oh, Leandry's actually, the burn actually. So that's a 40-second cooldown on for now. 45, I think it is. Elimination going to be without that. Shouldn't matter too much though. Keystone has a pretty short cooldown in the grand scheme of things. Sven farming pretty safely down here, and they expect this dual lane will knock down this outer turret for too long. Of course, Baron is alive, and teleports are available for these side laners in Hanser and Zig, so we expect them to be on the far side, TP in case there is a real Baron threat.
It's also pretty interesting to see, Mike Young is still going for this Frostfang build, and you see a lot of players in solo queue upgrading this all the way to the Frost Queen's lane. But when you're playing more aggressively, you're also completing the quest so much more quickly. Because he's mostly just farming, he's not actually getting the tribute procs off on players, so he's only at 344 of the 750 gold needed to actually complete the quest, so it's going to be a long time if he ever actually does complete that for the actual kind of speed up proc.
Yeah, and he had bought Spell Thief's literally first item. He recalled, got that. Acadian bought Green Smite for some wards out. And you're right, Mike King has not contributed much with that item just yet. Maybe he will a bit more so in the future, just hasn't yet.
And that being said, it's still a relatively efficient item. It's still, quite gold efficient. That's kind of one of the reasons it's so powerful, is because people say, hey, it's gold efficient, but then you also get the gold, then you also get the proc, and these are some benefits. But I think it's pretty smart for him to just not even finish the Frost Queen.
They got the slow. Arrow's going to be immuning that one. Elimination's here for the defense. Okay, but that is the broken stopwatch now.
Not sure if he even really needed to, but perhaps was expecting that Eve was there. Maybe thinking that someone else was coming in. I do feel like with your turret still up and with Lemonation right beside you, you're not in that much danger, but Acadian moving up to the top side, and Sven pretty far up. We'll see if they go for this.
Acadian not slow, but he will lose the passive shield and walks right back out. So no chase to be had against the TSM duo. Mithy and Sven apparently feeling safe enough. Quick blue buff handoff here. Mike Young gonna get one over to Bjergsen. Playing for his team pretty nicely. Protobelt done on the Evelyn, so still building towards ability power. Now another Ruby Crystal inventory, so we'll see what that turns into later on, but at least getting some durability in the build.
Yeah, and all 3 of the carries here for TSM have over the 10 CS a minute mark, right? They are farming very well. Bjergsen 305 CS at 25 minutes, looking very good. But Hanser is very close up there as well, and might actually get a solo kill here. He still has his ultimate.
A little bit of damage done right there. Zig forced to jump away. Burns his flash for it, and Bjergsen wants to get around the wall, but not going to happen just yet. OpTic's credit, they are at the 10 CS a minute as well, but not for the most part to the same marks as TSM. It is a better farming game for the blue team here as Bjergsen tries to keep control of the mid lane with his own turret. Pushing away PoE as well and dodging the Scout of the Weak stun. Ooh, nice little shot there on his vent, though. Good bit of damage out of the duo. Maybe TSM need to be a bit more respectful. They do have lifesteal available to this Ezreal. Acadian wants to slink around, but a ward spots him. OpTic, though, will finish this turret off, and there's their first turret of the game.
Yeah, finally knocking one of those down, but again, Haunter has just been pressuring Zig so heavily. Bot lane turret is almost down for the tier 2. Bjergsen, you know, is kind of pressuring around the mid tier 2 as well. And TSM is accruing these advantages. Mike Young is up on the top side. Bjergsen is roaming. They're looking to make this a 4v3, but OpTic has backed off early enough, and looks like they're going to call it off. But really, TSM just feels like they're just content to play this extremely passively. And then it just comes down to execution. That's all this game is going to be. Can TSM avoid the engage and out DPS and essentially knock down their opponents? Or are one of their carries going to get caught? Are they going to get comboed? And then all of a sudden the goldie doesn't matter. If you hit some sort of a combo that catches both GP and Azir and they instantly die, well, you don't really have this massive front line to be up there and absorbing all the skill shots and kind of tanking that up for you.
Absolutely the case. So things to watch for then. Can Acadian get in? Can Zig get the TP flanker? Can Elimination get on there? Even PoE can do it to some degree as well, but remains to be seen if that can actually come through right here. 3-item build done for Arrow. He's got his 2 Zeal upgrades, so that's a really big Tristana. That's in very much online champion. Ben's in a pretty good spot himself, has the last Whisper. Zig recalls in safety, and Haunter will keep this push going. As you mentioned, that bot lane tier 2 is an incredibly low health for it. It will not take much to be killed off.
It always kind of feels nice as an AD carry as well when there's not a lot of armor built on the other team because you're not necessarily forced into a last Whisper. And I'm going to be interested to see what the choices are here for Arrow. Is he feeling threatened enough by this Eve and by the Azir that he feels he needs to go for some sort of magic resist item, like a Maw, or is he going to go straight for a Bloodthirster, which I think is probably an option that I would be going for.
I think Whisper is not a terrible trap. There is enough armor on the one tank in mid that it's maybe the right choice. Going to see the engage in the front side, though, not blocked at all by Elimination with the ulti across to buy some time. They've got to run away, though, because there's big damage out of Mike Young potentially here. They've walked the Gangplank ultimate already. No kills to be had, but several flashes down, actually, from the defending side as OpTic lose some ground.
Yeah, a lot of summoners blown there. 2 flashes blown for OpTic. The heal going out as well. It was Mike Young's flash. Zig does arrive, but a little bit late. And they are going to be looking to take this dragon. OpTic, I think, is just going to try to push up mid and try to threaten another turret, get a little bit of gold for themselves, because they have been kind of out-positioned at that dragon.
A little bit of damage in the mid, but not a ton right there. Just going to take some shots, but looks like Arrow's going to stay safe and no longer has a minion wave in the way. And Sven playing just on the right edge of this one, gets half HP down.
And Haunter back to the bot side. He can probably knock down that turret. It's extremely low, and no one really is in position to defend. He's trying to slow play because he doesn't really know where everyone on OpTic is, but that turret is not long for this world. The top lane turret is going to be another one knocked down for TSM. So 3 turrets down, and the gold lead is still kind of slowly growing here.
Going for a while. TSM, if you want to make a fairly biased safety point for OpTic, they'll hit full build first and stop acquiring value out of their gold.
Wow, what an advantage. I fed this guy so much he has no more slots.
See, there you go.
They can't even buy pinks.
That's how I rationalize my laning phase. I've given him shutdown gold. You come gank him, jungler. It's okay. He's worth more now. Yeah, I'm not good at this game. It's okay, though. Moving on is TSM are just continuing to play this sort of slow grind, and it is still working. They're still out farming in most cases. Arrow's been given a bit more liberties with the farm, but he's actually now fallen back behind his solos. In individual last hitting.
A lot of the gold is really in the pockets of Haunter, though, so it's kind of how much can he convert. And you also have to take into account the fact that GP is balanced somewhat around the fact that he is going to have more gold because his passive gives him more gold. So therefore, generally speaking, you're going to have lower base stats. You're going to have things like this that are kind of accounting somewhat for that. But he is, a few thousand gold ahead of his counterpart, and the rest of the map, things are even enough that it's certainly OpTic has a chance to be able to win these fights.
Right here, Parlay has earned 1,400 gold via the mechanic on that one, so you can kind of track that against everything else. Now some damage onto Acadian, half HP on the Sejuani. Aftershock buying some time, but really getting low onto this one. Not a lot of resistance on that. Champion has to get a couple of jumps away to knock that a cannon barrage, and here comes the re-engage that Mithy wants in, and actually the shield had dropped, so Elimination's in a bad way, has to jump right back out. They will stay alive. They're getting away from that Ornn engage.
I actually really liked what TSM did there, splitting up the Ezreal ult to actually get the Braum shield to come, then using the Ornn ulti now that it couldn't be blocked, and they're going to force onto this Baron. It's going down fast. Zig is TPing in, though.
Oh, and the one-shot arrow is deleted already. That is the most important champion on the team, and that means a lot of map pressure now for TSM once again. Acadian is flashless, ultiless, some damage on Elimination as Sven pushes them away. Mithy's coming around the side as well. They might keep chasing for kills, or at least get rid of some wards. They might just be happy with just that kill, though, and it might also just be a reset.
I actually feel like they could have just started the Baron up again. I mean, you you have the Orin to tank. Haunter's gonna have to flash out. He might get solo killed here.
Derek's pop. Zig, can he do it? 2 more attacks will put him in, and yes, a kill on the trade back. And this means a lot.
Power of Evil helping, but yeah, big kill there for them. They're gonna be able to push up mid lane, and TSM not deciding to restart that Baron when Arrow is down seemed pretty surprising to me because there's not a lot of kind of power left in the OpTic tank when they had no Sejuani ultimate, no Braum ultimate. Arrow is down. Here is the initial play again, and Arrow just walks into these Azir soldiers, gets sniped out by Sven and Bjergsen, and then really, what do they have to actually fight against this? But Power of Evil, nice scatter of the weekend. It's Zig going over the wall to finish off Haunter. Trade of flashes, but getting the kill certainly a big deal as it buys OpTic more time and allows them to really get the minion waves going their way.
That was some nice stuff. There would have been a 30-second desync between Arrow respawning and Haunter being still dead, but OpTic did not get to use that to go for a Baron or anything.
Looking for a flank though. OpTic, 3 members in the brush on the side, perhaps, but
are going to back over window where Haunter can't join. Ulti only for him, and here comes actually TSM trying to engage. Again, they don't have Haunter really available outside of the open, but they're going to go for this one on a PoE. You find there was a Bromda ready to block all this damage output. Elimination getting a bit low, though. He can be shut down, and in fact, he will be. Mithy getting the kill credit of all people.
It seemed like Elimination was kind of hesitating if he wanted to try to run through the GP ult or try to stand back out of it, and he kind of stutter stepped back towards TSM. And yes, you are a Braum, but you're not that tanky as a pure support.
That felt like a split call because Haunter couldn't reach outside of the ultimate. Theoretically, that's a 5v4 you would then take as OpTic, but boom! 947 gold apiece, thank you very much. Gangplank has some money for himself.
He's got a Shiv, always going to feel really good with the wave clear there, and likely going to be working towards the last item I would expect, but he could go for something a bit more defensive as well, like a GA. Either way, Arrow is actually opting to go for some magic resist, so he has picked up the Null Magic Mantle. Might be a QSS, could just be the straight Maw. I think, after dying so quickly over by the Baron, definitely has to respect the damage that's going to be put out of Bjergsen, and if Bjergsen can kind of get his soldiers up on top of him, that is very scary, because then there's potential, Mike Young coming in and executing you, but
totally.
Will be interesting to see what he actually decides to complete. I always do think that if a team like this that has a lot of poke and kind of long range things that are hitting you, like the Azir shoulders, and you're getting poked out by an Ezreal and the GP's ulting on you and these sorts of things, I always feel like lifesteal is so incredibly powerful in these situations, because if you're taking poke but not actually lethal damage, having a BT means you can almost instantly heal that back up, and then things like them running to the Baron off of poke damage is no longer nearly as viable.
Absolutely. You keep a Raptor twice in your full HP.
Exactly, but at the same time, if you're dying to what you think is an all-in, as he did by that Baron pit, then the Maw is going to be like the most.
Yeah, exactly. Going for that item here for himself, and a lot of extra shields and health for him. Looking for the engage. Going to find the first stun. He's going to cleanse away, jump backward for the re-engage. They're going to stun Mike Young. Almost take him down. 200 HP left on him, but the Evelyn will in fact survive. Here's a big Ornn ulti across. We're going to knock up 2 on the bot side. No engage coming through. Barrel Chain only going to hit on a Zig, and the Ezreal only going to tag Power of Evil, but the damage is enough that OpTic will once again run away from this. 9,000 gold down, giving space to TSM.
This is an important fight, though. OpTic has the HP advantage, and the Infernal's on the map. They already have one Infernal. If they could get the second, that's a big deal, and that's a GP all down. That's a cleanse down from Bjergsen. Cleanse down from Mithy here as well. He's actually swapped over to that. So they're going to start up this Infernal, and it looks like it's just theirs. TSM will give it, and that does honestly eliminate some of the gold lead. Not as much as, as it would for a team like TSM, who's building 480 and AP, but Arrow and Power of Evil are going to be noticeably stronger, and even Zig will get something from this.
Absolutely agree. Arrow right now sitting on 217 attack damage, Power of Evil on 483 ability power, so yeah, decent upticks for the two of them. To the tune of a few hundred gold, maybe 1,000 and change maybe, but yeah, not making up the 10k deficit, certainly not yet at this point. TSM not. With the move around of resources get to go back to the top river first themselves though, and the rest vision control away from OpTic. Looks like Baron's going to be the next major focus, as kind of as it has been for the last 15 minutes or so.
I think the cleanse is actually a pretty smart choice here from Mithy in this situation, because he knows he has to absorb the CC, and because he is not like a pure full tank, if you do get hit by the Sejuani ult and things, you're going to get burst down. So having the cleanse in his back pocket to be able to kind of get him out of some of those situations, I think makes quite a bit of sense.
I like it.
The exhaust, are you really going to be in range of Power of Evil to exhaust him? Probably not. It's more about kiting back with this composition. So I think that the cleanse is actually a pretty intelligent adaptation here from Mithy.
I really agree. I wouldn't have thought of it, but I think it's a really, really good choice. So Cool to see that from Mithy here, and we'll see if that actually comes through in a big way in the next fight. On cooldown for a few more seconds. Attempted charm, not going to come through in elimination most likely. No one to jump onto him as the team protects. But this is now the Baron standout. This is where the attention's going to be for the next 5 minutes here, is which team can grab the Baron and take control of the map is going to be the big determinant.
Critically for OpTic though, the bot lane is going to be pushing for them. So it's TSM who eventually will have to get down to that bot side and answer as this mini wave stacks up. And that's one of the things that can make these Baron baits so much harder to deal with. If TSM had the wave that OpTic has to respond to, then you start the Baron when they go there and you can force out TPs and things like that. But it's actually time on OpTic's side for now.
Then just poking. Sometimes you have these standoffs, and it's just who has the Lux, the son of the Ezreal, the ARAM champions, and Ezreal landing a few Qs. Ven's feeling pretty good about that one.
And this is kind of the situations I'm talking about, where lifesteal can be so powerful, right? You know, Arrow is getting chunked out. Yes, he does have bleed forward. Yes, he is going to be getting some lifesteal and some health back from that, as well as the relic shield, but certainly not a ton of lifesteal on this. They're looking for Power of Evil. Elimination were separated.
Big chunk of damage. The flash actually still hits him on the top side. Elimination incredibly low. Gets someone to heal, walks away, and does that as Van as a result of Arrow helping him out. But that is some summoners gone, and health bar is even lower now as OpTic forced to run away.
Yeah, they certainly are. The mid laner and support are going right back to base. Huge mini wave is stacking though on bot side, and TSM need to either now go down to bot and answer that, or they have to start the Baron and kind of push OpTic into doing something. But for now, TSM is just kind of sitting around, and look how big that wave is getting on the minimap. It's just absolutely massive. The mid turret is pretty low here too.
Wow, TSM really playing incredibly defensively. They force a hard recall out of elimination.
Super
they got
risk-averse. 3
big summoner spells out on important champions and say, yeah, we would rather recall and have Haunter play for waves than go for a 5v3 and 50-50 the Barons. Might look for another ult. Not going to land that as Acadian though. Bjergsen had cleanse anyway, wouldn't have mattered, but mid lane turret's going to fall off the fact that Haunter had to run down to the bot lane, so that wave turns into cash into OpTic's hands.
And that's the map pressure that I was talking about, right? That slow push that was developed by OpTic earlier, really working in their favor. That means now that TSM loses all their vision around the Baron. You know, their chunk, their damage on elimination really did not result in much, though they did get the flashes. So that's pretty big, you know, getting a flash out of Power of Evil. And that also seems a little bit random. They're kind of pretty far back, but it is a low cooldown, so not the end of the world.
Yeah, it's at this rank, it's the same, in 8.1, it's the same cooldown as something like a Nautilus or a Maokai ultimate there, and of course he's built himself a good 30 CDR on items so far, so not too hard to spam that one a little bit. Goes fishing, doesn't find it, that's okay. He'll try again later on. Bot lane actually gets traded back just off the big wave that was pushing in via Haunter's shove. They managed to equalize a bit of that gold off of bot lane tier 2 falling, so the game remains 5-2 in Turret's favor of TSM. Gold remains his 9,000 difference here, and we'll once again see the next moves come through. Malva Mortius done for Arrow. Sven on full build now at this point with his Scimitar done, so nowhere else to grow for the Ezreal.
And as much as you were joking about the, for OpTic, you know, TSM's going to be done their builds sooner and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but I walked the nails. Oh, hold on. Yeah, there's a fight. Bjergsen then at 1/3, 2/3 HP now across the wall. Comes again. He wants this one. The protocol forward as well. Everyone wants the damage. Ults right back out. Acaden is low. 500 HP left on him. The true shot barrage getting a bit lower. Mega Gnar turned on as well. And they're going to turn away.
Critically, though, Acadian is the only one who got chunked out. He has the Warm-On, so he will actually be back up to full health very shortly. Bjergsen did expend his flash, but you know, Arrow is catching up in items to Sven, right? He is only 1 item away. And TSM is playing so risk-averse that they're giving a lot of time to OpTic.
Yep.
OpTic only really needs 1 major team fight where all the CC lands on these carries, and TSM could lose the game. So it is, while you're trying to be like, okay, we got to be really safe, we got to make sure we take a perfect fight, you sometimes have to take calculated risks when you are ahead, or you will watch that lead slowly dwindle.
Absolutely the case. Sven completely full build. Haunter completely full build as well. Yeah. Bjergsen half a slot to go. There's a lot of room to grow on the OpTic side, as you mentioned. There's 1 full item slot still to replace for Arrow, 1 full item slot, and a half still to pick up for Zig right here. So,
and 1.5 for Power of Evil here too.
If it stays 10,000 gold lead, it is not a 10,000 gold lead in inventory anymore. Every minute that goes on, OpTic are getting more items than TSM are getting.
Yeah, certainly so. And obviously there's some things that can kind of change the math on that a little bit because you have the extra gold for potions, you know, the elixirs, and things like that. Or maybe you trade out an item later on for more optimal DPS, and things like this can change that a little bit. But generally speaking, from this point, if it continues to play slow, it's probably in OpTic's favor because the gold lead is certainly going to be less and less. You still have to send GP bot to clear waves, whether he's full build or not.
Going to be the case. So things to watch for now is another Scry's Boom is popped. Going to look for what's going on with OpTic Gaming if they're shoving in mid, and looking for more.
The Elder being on the map now, too, is also, I would say, bigger for OpTic because they're the ones with 3 dragons. They're the ones with double Infernal. So while TSM would love to take it away and deny it from OpTic, they get much less if they actually secure it.
Half HP on a Bjergsen as well. Chunk finds a single stun. They need to make sure they keep it safe down the front. And again, as Acadian finds the stun, with not a lot being gained. Now Mithy wants to go for the stuns. Going to find Elimination down about 1 half HP. Chunked again. Almost finding Arrow as well with some more shots. And OpTic forced to run away now. Sven jumps forward, doesn't find the kills just yet. But now OpTic incredibly low. And that's going to be some pressure, looks like, for this mid side.
It certainly is, and TSM is doing a really good job kiting back and forth, being able to avoid the engages and then using their superior damage, their superior late game scaling perhaps to get some of this damage out, but they're actually going to be going straight onto the Baron. OpTic is trying to force TSM's hand, trying to force them to come into them and fight this.
Trying to rush it down. Mike Young not yet in range. He's the last one around. They didn't know that Evelyn wasn't in range because she's invisible. That actually would have been an uncontestable smite, but of course now Mike Young is here, but that's misinformation for you.
Look at the waves again, though. Both top and bot working in OpTic's favor. They force Hauntzer to come up to them. He can't actually go bot and answer that. It's a huge wave stack top, huge wave stack bot. As Hauntzer goes, they could start this up again and at the very least perhaps get out the teleport. But he is moving on down. It looks like Hauntzer is actually on the Elder. He's going to try to two-man this with Bjergsen and OpTic.
They're going to get it.
Are not aware.
So TSM nicely done, actually, off the attempted Baron bait. OpTic pulled off, unfortunately for them too soon. They didn't know Mike Young was far.
Pit, though.
Yeah, looks like they're going to live, though. Ezreal to use the scout, and they say, okay, well, Azir's nowhere near this side of the map. They know he can't get there too quickly, so it's going to be another attempt on the Baron. Mike Young has ult, has flash. Can he win this smite fight? Not even going to be a chance. He won't lose his life. So Baron picked up versus a 1.5 stack Dragon. I'd pick that for OpTic.
Yeah, certainly so. And the other thing that's working really well for OpTic about this is the Baron buff lasts longer than the Elder Dragon buff. And if TSM wants to play extremely slow, well, all you have to do as OpTic is turtle for a little while. Once the Elder expires, you have this window of opportunity where their buff is gone, yours is still available, and you can start to get more gold. Plus, you get the additional gold from actually killing that Baron, which is going to help, springform them towards these last items. You can see another item completed for Zig. There's just one more to be finished for Power of Evil. He's on 5.5. So definitely getting really close to these full builds.
And Arrow's sitting on 3.2k, so if he's going for Bloodthirster, it's like 3,500 or so, something around there. And once
he can sell it as Stargons,
Yeah, and that's going to sell for like 360-ish, so soon enough they'll be able to grab that one and be on full build, and that'll be, 75, 80 or so attack damage, and he'll feel a lot better about it.
And as that Tristana, I mean, when you're a 6-item Tristana, you get a crit or two on someone like an Eve, someone like an Azir, someone like, even this GP or the Ezreal, and they just actually die.
Yep. Well, Hauntzer did replace an item. He sold his boots. He's got a Phantom Dancer now, so 80% crit Gangplank. He is insane for damage now in this game. You have to respect these 3 gigantic threats. Looks like, final item comes through for Arrow. Imperial Scimitar going to be picked up, which... a nice mix between Bloodthirster's Lifesteal and a QSS in case you do get caught by something scary, like maybe an Evelyn Charm.
Yeah, certainly so, but not a lot of CC, honestly, on this team. So I'm certainly more in the camp of Bloodthirster being a better last item here. But it does also give the magic resistance, which he's obviously worried about Bjergsen, worried about Mike Young, and there's certainly some...
Turret's gone.
Watching for that, too.
All right, 45-minute. We're going to see a trade of turrets. Hauntzer split pushing pretty nicely. TSM realizing they're starting to lose the map, playing a bit more loose with the splits. They're going to go ahead and trade that as it's now 6-3 in turrets. Only inhibitors left now to be defended with those structures as OpTic have finally knocked down the last of the outers.
And the Elder Dragon is about to expire now. It's about one more wave and then it's gone, and then OpTic really can look to push and pressure and try to utilize their Baron. So at the very least, I expect them to get the bottom turret here too, which really is going to push them even closer in this gold game, because as you have pointed out, the gold lead is somewhat lying to you now as GP and the Ezreal are full build. They are not really getting much, if anything, out from this now.
More easy rev though to Sven. Does actually have slightly diminished value for an Ezreal because you're going to slow anyway off of your Iceborne Gauntlet. But...
Which he did sell though. He traded out for a Triforce.
Oh, you're right. I missed that.
He is trying to change that up and optimize a little bit more for the DPS. He's kept his boots, but as you pointed out, Hauntzer, grabbed that PD. He's actually changed out to an Essence Reaver now here instead of the Ghost Bleed. So they are trying to go for more optimal damage builds, and that's also going to give Hauntzer 100% crit.
Yeah, Yeah, well, everything he's going to do is going to do a lot right there. Now, Acadian finding some time with Bjergsen. He's going to lose his passive now. Here comes be a nice re-engage as the ulti coming across as well. Half HP, Acadian puts a flash away. This could be a gigantic ulti by Young 20 death though, so 5v4 favor of OpTic. If they can get into this fight, Zig's still safe in the back line. The Minty could be running down. Arrow gets one for himself. 2 kills so far to OpTic.
And this is actually so big. They still have the Baron buff. The mini wave is coming, and Arrow is back to full health. Bjergsen is at half health. 1 crit from Arrow could mean Bjergsen gets dangerously low, if not goes down. But they are going to reset. They take that win, and that is what I'm talking about as far as execution. When you do not have the tanks, you do not have any room for error. Mike Young goes in, instantly is killed. Mithy cannot hold up as a frontline tank against a 6-item Tristana, against this almost full build Power of Evil, and it's double Infernal on top of that. So really, the advantages in gold are very negligible at all at this point.
Absolutely the case here. Half a slot to go left for Power of Evil. He recalled back to join the team, and there's still about 10 seconds of the reinforcements not going to be joining the fight.
Big barrel, though.
Yeah, half HP on PoE. With the wave being clear, this is actually going to stop the entire push for OpTic, and Sven's like, yeah, I'll get a bit more done here in this one. Poke down Acadian a little bit. He's going to grab some wolves for good measure, get towards his last item slot as well.
One thing I actually really love here from Elimination, I think very intelligent, he got a Warmogs.
Love it.
And I think this is so smart because the way that TSM is playing, they use their abilities to chunk out their opponent, they kite back, and then they try to have a reset advantage. That is gone with the Warmogs now, and knocking down the turret, Acadian in the front line. He's tanking up for a long time. Now watch Mike Young from the top side, goes in, flashes in for Power Fuel. Power Fuel flashes out of the way, Mike Young instantly dead. And then now the focus on to Mithy. Look how fast he goes down in comparison to Acadian, who was fully tanking the 6-item Azir for a long time. And that is the difference between that support tank and the true 6-item, you know, or well, not quite 6-item yet for Acadian, but the true tanks coming out of the jungle, coming out of the solo lanes. You just have so much more gold.
I just realized I forgot something. Ornn exists. In Mithy at level 14, they can now upgrade the items for TSM. Yep. The Infinity Edge can become an Infinity-er Edge. The Trinity Force becomes the tons of damage dealer. I know Medic knows the names. He looked them up in the EU LCS last week. I'm not as dedicated to my craft. Molten Edge, I think.
So it is Trinity Fusion.
Trinity Fusion, thank you.
Is the item that has been purchased here. And I believe it is Molten Edge for Infinity Edge.
I said that.
Yeah, there you go. So by our powers combined.
By our powers combined, Rabbidan's Death Cap becomes Rabbidan's more Death Cap. We're going to invent them here on the cast. We're good enough. 48 minutes in, though, and yeah, TSM get to keep growing. So that was the ultimate plan, guys. They picked Ornn so that the 6-item build could be a 7-item build, and you can't outscale a 7-item build.
Just incredible.
Infinite winning in the late game.
Definitely gotta say, though, TSM, you know, they're playing so incredibly passively, and now at this point, I do think it's fair to someone criticize that, right? When you've been 6 items for so long, and they're sitting back, they're not really applying pressure onto their opponents. They've given away the double Infernals. They're 6 items on Power of Evil, 6 items on Arrow. The gold league doesn't really matter at all anymore. And now I just think that OpTic is in just a much easier to win with composition, because when you are at this level with these amount of items and you have the pure tanks, it's easier to team fight. And that doesn't mean that OpTic is guaranteed going to win, because OpTic against Liquid actually had a better late game team fight again. They were in the position to win against Team Liquid, and they kind of flubbed the late game execution. Liquid found a pick. They mixed executed in the final fight, and Team Liquid comes away with that victory. But OpTic is now gifted another chance to take down one of the best teams in the NALCS, or one of the teams that is predicted to be one of the best teams in the NALCS.
Absolutely. But in 45 seconds, TSM's next power spike comes in as Bjergsen and Sven have Gathering Storm. So they're really taking it late, and they know it's in their wheelhouse. They're really planning for this one, apparently. 800 AP on Bjergsen. Sven's at almost 500 attack damage right now.
It is actually a lot more damage when you get super late, but OpTic straight onto the Baron. They're going to force the issue again, and this very likely
Mike's not in range. Mike's not in range. He's going to be picked up pretty cleanly there. Gangplank ult used to build some distance and close the gap.
Little.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything for damage right now. Bjergsen chunked to half HP. That was just off one spell.
And they have the waves. Again, look at this top wave here for OpTic. They just need to join up with this wave, start shoving that in. Arrow.
Ooh, bit of damage onto him. Now looking for chases onto Hans. So he's going to have to flash away from this one. Eats the oranges and actually will stay safe for now. Another chunk. Nice block by Elimination. Gets rid of the horn. The ram, and now this could be the re-engage. Flash over the wall. The ulti blocked and actually just burned now by Braum here. Sean back in there, knocked out Acadian. 1 kill finally. The first time in half an hour for TSM getting something for themselves. Arrow was a jump to the wall to get away.
OpTic just needed to push the wave. They're instead trying to engage in a closed corridor fight against Azir, against Gangplank, against Ornn ulti coming through, and that is not the area you want to take that fight. All they had to do was go to the top lane with this massive wave, Baron buff it up, and force TM to engage on their terms. Instead, trying to get too much in the jungle, trying to go forward, you will not push through all these soldiers that are set up and all the barrels that get set up. And Haunter just retreating very intelligently back to his team, holds onto his flash, knows he does not yet need to use it. And as the team sets up, this is where OpTic needs to leave. You cannot fight back into this. Look at the carries on the top side here for OpTic. How do they really come through with barrels in the way, with the Azir soldiers in the way? Like, there's no real way for them to approach that fight. Chasing
Gangplank Azir into fog is a recipe for disaster, absolutely. We actually heard Fevin talk about that slightly. It's like, but I have items on Azir. Why are you letting me get kills on my side of the screen? And yeah, kind of happened here for this one. A lot of damage coming through from the TSM squad, and the gold doesn't matter. It means temporary map control. Elder Dragon spawning in 50 seconds.
And these are some of the troubles that OpTic has had. Despite the fact that they have had very close games, they lost both of them, and they lost both of them for a reason. And it was often down to late game execution, late game decision making, you know, knowing exactly what to do at that point of the game. And they have another opportunity. They still are in a pretty good spot. You can see Arrow actually sold his boots. He has a BT, so this is a true 6-item Tristana, which in my opinion is much stronger than the Ezreal at this point in the game with these items.
And especially now that everyone's sold their armor items, there's no ninja tabbies and whatnot. You last whisper would be a total trap on Tristana, so good build.
And there's triple Warmogs. The only person you could poke at all and have it matter is Power of Evil. If you do not hit him, Zig Warmogs up, Acadian Warmogs up, Lemonation Warmogs up, a huge amount of lifesteal on Arrow, it becomes very hard for your poke to matter at all. And TSM doesn't really have the comp to hard engage because they're so squishy.
They can fire for themselves. Stun comes out from Kiwi, doesn't find any purchase though, and Elder Dragon controlled right now. It's not a powerful Elder Dragon. Again, there's only one Mountain Drake right now on TSM, but they're going to find some damage on a Mythic. Gets the flash out from him, and Gangplank ult to disengage, and that's going to force OpTic to run away once again.
It does, but again, Warmog's on the table, lifesteal on the table, the GP ult will expire, and what did you accomplish? You got a little bit of damage on PoE. That's about it. So now they have no GP ultimate. OpTic can look to re-engage. Warmog's back up to full now. For Elimination, he does get poked down again by Azir.
Potential charm onto Acadian, not going to go for that one just yet. It will expire. 4,900 left on the Elder Dragon. Mithy is tanking it, the only tank on the squad. And OpTic Gaming is going to kite right back again. The soldier's in the way though, Haunter.
That's an important smite.
And the rest of the squad putting an Arrow at half HP. Here comes Mega Gnar though, perfect timing going in. And it's picked up by Mike Young. A little bit of power for TSM. That's going to be the disengage right away by OpTic. They almost got that one, but did not come through. Ulti's used.
That was such a critical smite from Mike Young. If OpTic gets that, that could very likely just be the game because you pile into that fight, you have the double Infernal buffed up. TSM, another leash on life, but this
OpTic piling in the mid
is going to go down.
Haunter actually went to go push the bot lane. They knew that the recall was going to be late. In fact, Haunter is staying right now, and they can tell this. He's actually fighting minions. OpTic will actually recall to defend, though.
No, this is, really smart. Now TSM just chase. You stop the backs. Haunter is going to get an inhib off this, almost guaranteed, and OpTic did not need to send perhaps all their members to actually take down that inhibitor turret, and very smartly handled here by TSM. They know that OpTic doesn't want to engage into the Elder Dragon buff, so Haunter simply stays around. He gets the inhib. Good stuff.
And you can see that OpTic actually bled out 1,400 gold during that, even though the money itself doesn't matter. Kiwi will a bit low. The chase though on a Haunter. Look at the damage against Zig, but it's a very tanky Gnar. Here comes the order to try to help out, and it will not go into the air.
Zig too far in.
The kill. He's forced to flash away.
Yeah, really trying to push to get some of these kills, but perhaps over-chasing a little bit. It is a trade of flashes, so not bad. GP ultimate is down, but obviously low cooldown at this point in the game, and try to push out these waves. So that is just to get the top wave pushing even more, building up for TSM. They're going to have this big wave crashing from the top side. The wave will naturally push into the bot side because of the super minions there, and TSM will likely look to push up the mid lane and then essentially have all three lanes pressuring their opponents.
It's going to start looking like TSM with a bit more confidence now that they've gotten that Elder Dragon fight. They got, a little bit more done with themselves, so starting to be a bit more forward with this. Arrow, again, nowhere else to go with this build. Actually resold his Bloodthirster for boots. Wants to be able to move a bit more, and honestly, I actually don't think you need 2 lifesteal items. I actually think he should get Blade of the Ruin Team because there are some high HP champions. Just something to get through some of the sort of front line, but I understand wanting Scimitar.
He's just not responding again. Bjergsen is pushing up here. Mike Young is there, and they are going to try to move up now, so it's not as though he can go straight for the inhibitor, but It does feel like OpTic is starting to struggle a little bit as far as the late game decision making, as far as how to find the fights, when do we engage, where do we engage. They are making some mistakes there, and that is where it's feeling like TSM is getting some of these edges.
And TSM's being more proactive too. They had Mike Young following Bjergsen, so PoE dueled him, surprised with an Evelyn coming out of the fog of war to kill you. And I like that move. They turned into a kill, but I thought it was smart. Here comes the re-engage again on the mid lane. Blocked in, with some damage on the back line, but Mike Young nowhere to go. He's gonna get the kill though. They pick one up, but it's a trade. PoE traded back now. Ooh, it's a Katie force a flash right over.
Be in trouble here, perhaps.
In for Bjergsen. The damage output is there for a kid. He will just barely survive it. TSM backing out, so a sliver of HP on Sejuani, a 4v4 on the map.
It's so important that Acadian got out there for OpTic, barely surviving. Bjergsen knocked it back in. It was a trade of kills. Advantageous for TSM, though, as it's a mid laner down for OpTic. Acadian needs to get back out here, but he won't be able to before 2 inhibs are down.
Yeah, 2 inhibs down is a lot of map control for TSM, and that's going to coincide with the Baron respawning as well, so you expect the blue team to have the map control to secure that and maybe turn it into a game win, slow as it may be. OpTic now really stuck inside their base, and yeah, PoE, an important part of their squad, and he's gone.
And that was just a really nice flank, honestly, from Mike Young. He finds his way behind the team, not spotted, and he is able to find that sort of an engage. And that's one of the things that, as fighting as it is, can become more easy in the super late game stages because there's not inventory slots for pings. So they really start to not have enough coverage around the map, and they're looking for a re-engage again here. Nation does block it out.
Yeah, it's still a very long, slow, if you do get rid of that one, he managed to survive 5 seconds. But yep, the split pushing is going well, but now Hunter a little bit alone, and again, no Mike Young and no PoE. PoE will reinforce sooner. Guy go pop, and look at the damage now. Arrow found himself one. Will Sig chase for Bjergsen? The answer is no. But now it's 73 seconds with no top laner. That split push gets him killed.
Bjergsen had no Zhonya's there. I actually think that Arrow should have jumped forward for that kill. I think that could have been a dead Bjergsen, certainly. Yeah. But playing perhaps a little bit too scared. Elimination, though, does get caught.
Yeah, PoE was in base defending, so TSM going into 4v4. Happy to take the fight, looking okay. Zig looking at a little bit of a flank, but not finding purchase.
PoE has to be careful, though. He's split from his team. They don't know where Evelyn is, so you cannot just be clearing these waves all and not worrying about that at all. Here comes Mike Young. He's looking for PoE again.
They're going to get him with the knock-up despite the flash. The charm not going to land. PoE's going to stay okay. Good damage on Bjergsen, but didn't pull the trigger for the rest of the damage up. But I think if he had been able to ult, that would have been lethal damage, as Bjergsen has almost no MR at all. Zhonya's just came back up that second, so he didn't have it for that.
He has upgraded it now here, too. So that
Zhonya's Paradox.
Yeah, everyone is grabbing all these upgraded Orin items. And OpTic straight over to Baron, but I mean, they're exposing their base. They need to kill this instantly and then recall. Zig is by himself in the base, and TSM could just go to try to end here. They have a wave. Zig needs to get out of there.
Zig's going to get really low on health, finds himself a stun, gets kidnapped by Mike Young, and now 4 versus 5, and TSM are pushing with minions inside the base, looking to get the damage output, but they realize even with Zig
coming in, Haunter still has no flash.
Ooh, he cancels, so it's a 4v4. The new Haunter wasn't around, and it means they will lose some more time, but a Nexus turret kill as payment for 4 Baron buffs.
Yeah, and I mean, they do take the Baron off the map, which I think is very important because TSM was likely depending on this Baron buff, you know, with all the map pressure to kind of cleanly close out the game. So that is somewhat of a win for OpTic, but very, very risky. That easily could have been the end of the game. And the Hibs are coming back up, but it gets really tough for OpTic to leave their base at this point with only 1 Nexus turret, with all the inhibitors exposed. Gangplank could just kind of wander in there and knock down these turrets so quickly, but Critical he doesn't have his TP for now.
Something to watch out for. I want to continue the item tracker. Mike Young sold Sork Shoes for a Lich Bane. I'm actually not even sure if that is DPS optimal because Magic Pen is such an important stat to assassinate the backline, but he thinks that he wants the extra ability power ratio on that for the damage output. We'll see if it tracks well for him.
And Bjergsen and Sven both have Gathering Storm, and when you hit 60 minutes, it's a comical amount of extra AP. I mean, we are almost bridging that gap. That is another benchmark where that mastery becomes probably more efficient than Keystones. Like, it's actually insane at 60 minutes.
Yeah. Well, most games don't go 60 minutes, and
of course,
then you watch the LCS. Highest, longest game of this season so far for NA, 64-33, I believe I was told. Shout out production, thank you very much for that one. And we're only about 4.5 minutes from that mark.
And it just seems OpTic kind of spawns these games. The previous longest game was OpTic versus 100 Thieves. They have that longest average game time. Even their game against Liquid was fairly long. They're in another 60-minute game here. They seem to know how to survive. They seem to know how to do pretty well in lanes and all these things, but definitely find themselves, I think, you know, not necessarily exactly sure what calls to make, how to close out the games, what the best thing is to do in some of these really difficult late game situations.
We're up to 516 attack damage on Ezreal and 912 ability power on Bjergsen, so they are powering up massively here. And yeah, it's going to weirdly get slightly more difficult over time to deal with their damage output. I think though still, like, even in a situation like this, even when you talk about individual items and whatnot, or the master upgrades, yeah, positioning and actual macro sense are 99% of the game at this point. The little, like, oh, I do 5% more damage to you does not matter in most cases.
Yep, very few cases, but when you look at someone like Katie getting away with 10% health, which could have ended the game, mastery choices matter in those sorts of situations, right? When it is very, very close, you always want to give yourself the best advantage possible, even if it's not going to decide the game most of the time. Why would you not just have the optimal build? Why would you not have the optimal runes, right? And that is more kind of the interesting part about it for me, and that's why it's a fun discussion. But
you count like a 5% out of it, something like that.
Exactly, and certainly it's going to come down to positioning mistakes. It's going to come down to macro mistakes. And OpTic again knocking at the door of TSM, but can they actually hold on here?
Canadian wants in. They're going to use the Baron buff for some extra stats here. This one, a knockup coming
Arrow's not really involved.
But yeah, Arrow couldn't get any attacks off, and now the Gangplank will get the chase coming in. Here comes Ornn. He's going to get forward the knockup. Only two, actually, as they kite around to the side. Oh, the triple hit! They've killed two already, making a third. This is a whitewash shot. They're going to get it destroyed now, and this one is Ven is on the chase to find a few more shots. The Spooky Ghost coming out, and they're going to signal some doom right now. QS has burned to get rid of the active item as the Cadence are running for dear life. Arrow over the wall. Someone's got to go down in the mid lane right now because they can start winning the game. A nice pick off there, and Arrow left alone. What can he even do? He can jump the wall, and a nice backward shot by Mike Young. He has the damage output. The shutdown is through. A full ace for TSM.
And that is going to do it. TSM should just be able to walk down mid lane here and get their first win of the season.
Oh, and a heartbreak for OpTic just the same. It's their second over-hour-long loss that they could have had, but couldn't play it right. TSM finally gets something on the board in the win column. A lot of work still to do for the squad, but at least one is a start. They will play again tomorrow, as will OpTic, but now it's just to walk into the Nexus. There are no surprises left to be had here on this one. Nothing's going to stop this. TSM will take down OpTic in Game 2.
Certainly will, and did a good job hiding back, sealing the final team fight. It did feel like OpTic was not all on the same page with that engage. You see Sejuani